Hi, and welcome to Cat Run Figures. I'm your host, Caitlin, and today we are going to be reviewing Image Comics God Country, issue 1. So, first off, great cover, right? Just beautiful work with its colors. But the wrath of God lies sleeping. It was hid 1,000,000 years before men were, and only men have the power to wake it. Hell ain't half full. Hear me, ye carry war of a madman's making onto a foreign land. Ye'll make more than the dogs. Carmack McCarty. So, going right on into it, we get to see the story of an old man suffering with severe dementia and the basic side effects and the harsh truths that it means for all of the people around them. So we get to see this old man who is suffering from dementia, and his son and his son's family have moved to live with him to try to help take care of him. And this old man's become very violent and very aggressive. He's completely lost his mind. And to make matters even worse, he was always a very strong individual and a fighter. So that makes him a very violent individual when he's having any of his spurts, any of his bad days. So the sheriff of the town, a number of the townspeople, the law enforcement, they just don't know what to do with him. And we get to see that he's had another outburst. And he's assaulted a couple of the deputies. It took a number of men to take him down and to get him home, and they just don't know what to do with him. If this happens again, it could get worse, and they could end up having to hurt him. They're discussing whether or not to have him taken into a home, but his son Emmett doesn't want to do that. This is his father. He wants to take care of him. He wants to be there for him because they're family. And we get to see that the old man, that spurt's not over. And he starts to scream at whoever's in his house, to get the fuck out of his house. And he's calling for his wife, who's been dead for several years. However, in his dementia state, he doesn't really understand that. He's yelling for her to call the police. And he's saying, "This is my home, goddamn thieves. This is my home." To make matters worse, his young granddaughter runs inside hearing her grandfather, and she's very happy. Of course, she's maybe 6, just a tiny little girl. And she gets to see her grandfather at his worst. And in her eyes, he looks like a monster, and he's screaming for her and the others to get the fuck out, screaming that he's going to kill her. He will kill her. And you get to see the true horror in her eyes, like she's seeing some monster, which if that doesn't tear her heart out, I don't know what will. But it's too much for a little girl to handle. It's too much for a little girl to have to handle. So her mother rushes in to carry her out, trying to console her daughter. And Emmett, the father, runs out, and he's apologizing to his daughter, he's apologizing to his wife, and his wife's saying, that's it, they're leaving. This is the last straw. They had a good life, and they completely changed everything to try to be there for this old man, and she's not going to allow it. She's not going to allow this to affect their family and their little girl anymore. And she's leaving, and she's asking her husband if he's coming with them. And he says he can't. It's his father, and he's a good man. He's having a hard time. For Christ's sake, what is he supposed to do? Just leave him there to die? And his wife says, fine. And he's screaming that he needs him. His father needs him. He's his only family. And she says, no, we need you. We're your family. So ultimately, she gets in the car and she leaves. So the sheriff informs him that he got him to settle down, but they might have to look at different alternatives for him. It's it's not going to be a good road for him moving forward. And Emmett tells him that he's staying with him. Enter, we get to see a storm ripping through the area. So, just this horrific storm. It's even got the animals spooked, tearing through everything. And we get to see the mother and her young daughter are driving through, and they see the storm, and they're doing everything they can to avoid it. So they end up turning around and going back towards the house. Then we get to see the storm actually rips through the home. And I gotta tell you, this art is fantastic. I love the use of all the color with all the greens. And his father gets sucked into the storm. And when the little girl and her mother finally get back to the house, there's nothing left. It's just a horrible thing. And I love the fact that the narrator is going on to state that just a story about someone surviving through this horrible storm would have been incredible. But what happens next is even more so. So the storm didn't just come on its own. So we get to see this horrible demon is right there, and he's going to try to attack the young girl. And he's chasing her, and she runs to her father to try to get some kind of protection, to try to get someone to protect her, to save her. Then we get to see Grandpa. Grandpa has picked up a sword that was brought in by the storm. And of course, the sword has a name. Its name is Vilaflex. And Emmett has his mind back. As long as he's holding the sword, he's right in his head. And he's able to control himself. He's able to understand what's going on. And he's saying, how did I get so damn old? What happened? And someone calls out for him, Grandpa. And he's saying, did you just say Grandpa? And you get to see his granddaughter run to him. And it's kind of beautiful. It's a beautiful little touching family moment until we get to see that sword didn't just come from anywhere. It belonged to a god. And that god wants his sword back. So I'm really excited to find out who this god is and exactly his story. I want to know more about the sword, Vilaflex. I want to see, I gotta tell you, it was a good story. I mean, it really paints, it paints dementia in such a great picture where it is such a horrible disease and it does affect everyone around the individual, not just the individual himself, but all of the family surrounding him is also affected. I loved the art in this. I loved the family. I loved the narrator throughout. I gotta tell you, this was a great first book, great first issue for this. I can't wait to see what's going on moving forward into the story. So give me a like if you like this video. Comment below and tell me what you thought of God Country if you picked it up. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? What were some of your favorite parts about it? Subscribe to our channel for more comic book content, or check out any of our older videos we have up for offer here on Catherine Figures. And until next time, I'm your host, Caitlin. Bye.